here. Okay, let's get going. I'm going to tell you guys right up front that this is probably one of the harder weeks. Next week is going to be even harder. Next week, make sure you're here next week because solving rational equations is pretty tough. All right. So this week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting rational functions. Okay. Now, I will tell you that it's exactly the same as adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions, just one step harder. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to be talking about multiplying rational expressions. If I gave you a fraction to multiply, let's say I said, what is the answer? 1/2 times 3/4. What would you say the answer is to that? What is 1/2 times 3/4? Next week is another long week. Yes. 3/8. Thank you, Samantha. When you multiply, you just multiply across the top and across the bottom. So I'd end up with 3/8. Now, when we do rational expressions, now let's say I gave you a problem like this. Let's say I gave you 15/5 times 1/3. Okay? First thing hopefully you would do is you would simplify. Okay? So if I was going to do this problem, the first thing I would do is I'd like, okay, 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 15 5 times. Here I've got 5, and I got 5, so I can reduce top and bottom. I just end up with 1. Or you could have just multiplied across. But simplifying, you'll find that if you simplify this week, it'll make things a whole lot easier. So multiplying rational expressions. Factor all the numerators and denominators completely. So we're going to factor. So kids that don't know how to factor are going to struggle this week. Divide out any common factors. Multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. Be sure you don't have any like terms in there that we can cross off. So here's an example. 1/2 times 3/5. Multiply it. I get 3/10, right? Because I just multiply across the top. There's nothing to simplify. Multiply across the bottom. I get 3/10. Pretty easy, right? So let's take it to the next step. If I wanted to multiply this one. Now, for those of you that don't simplify first, good luck. In this problem, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to factor. I can pull a 4 out of here. Remember, first step, factor all the terms. So I'm going to factor out a 4 here. That gives me x minus 1. So now my second step, cross out anything that's the same on top and bottom. Well, I've got an x plus 2 here, and an x plus 2 here. I have an x minus 1 here. I have an x minus 1 here. My answer is 4 over x minus 2. That is how simple they are. Most of them, everything just crosses off on top and bottom. So factor first. Cross off everything that you can cross off on top and bottom. It will make your answers really short and simple. Now, if you multiply it across here, if you said, okay, I'm just going to multiply x plus 2 times 4x minus 4, and then I'm going to multiply the x minus 1 times the x plus 2, x minus 2. Good luck. It's going to take you a long time to do. You want to factor it down. You want to simplify. It makes the problems really easy. How do we divide? If I asked you to divide this problem, 4/3 divided by 1/2, what would you say the answer is? Multiply by the reciprocal. Very good. So that is a concept this week. So 4/3 times 2/1. Give me 8/3. So now, if I gave you a problem like this, you have to flip it before you start simplifying. Some kids are like, oh, I'm going to cross off all this stuff. You can't do that. You have to flip it first and make it into a multiplication problem first. So in this problem, I would go 5x to the 6th over x squared y times, and then y over 10x squared. So now I can start simplifying. Okay, I can cross off things on top and bottom. So the 5 and the 10, that becomes a 2. I've got a y here and a y here. I have x to the 6th and x to the 4th, really, right? So I can cross off both of those, and that's just going to leave me with x to the 2nd here. My answer X squared over 2. Ah, you, Samantha, you forgot this too here. Yep. Pretty easy, right? It's not bad when you can just cross everything off. But remember, when you have a division problem, you've got to flip it over. You've got to flip it over. All right, now, the hard ones this week. When you have a common denominator, when you're adding and subtracting, if you have a common denominator, you just add the numerators. So if I had 1/5 plus 3/5, the denominators are the same, so I just add across the top and leave the denominator. So I'd end up with 4/5. If I had 6/7 minus 4/7, the denominator is the same, so I just subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2 over 7. Pretty easy, right? So when the fractions have a common denominator, all you do is you either add or subtract on top. Okay, so now, if I gave you a problem like this, looks pretty hard, doesn't it? Are the denominators the same? Yes. If the denominators are the same, you're halfway done with the problem because you know what the denominator is going to be in your answer, right? And then I have to just add across the top. So x plus x, that gives me 2x. -3 plus -2, that gives me -5. Done. So if the denominators are the same, whoa, pretty easy. Multiplying, dividing, easy. Adding and subtracting, pretty easy if the denominator is the same. We haven't got to the hard stuff yet, though, right? Because you're going to have denominators that are not the same. Okay? So, if I gave you this problem right here, 1/3 plus 4/5. The denominators are not the same. So what we do is we try to get a common denominator. So what is the common denominator here? 15 is correct. So I'm going to change this to have a 15 on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 5 here. Why can I do that? So that gives me 5 over 15. Why can I do that? Because 5 over 5 is 1, and if you multiply anything by 1, you get the same answer. It's always going to be the same. So I'm multiplying 1/3 times 1 here. It doesn't look the same, but it is. 5/15 is 1/3. And then over here, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3. So that gives me 12/15. And now, common denominator, I can add across the top, keep the denominator the same. So my answer is 7/15. That is where most people are going to make their mistake this week, is when the denominators are not the same. Okay, so this is arithmetic, probably 7th, 8th grade. You learned that. Did a problem just like that. So this one is a little different. Okay, what's my common denominator? That's the first thing you have to ask yourself, is what is the common denominator? 4x. I agree. 4x is my common denominator. So I don't have to touch this side. I have to multiply top and bottom here by 4. So that gives me 12 over 4x plus 5 over 4x. Now the denominator is the same. I end up with 17 over 4x. Done. Pretty easy. Mr. Shanklin, you said this is going to get hard. Oh, it is. How about, oh, no. Dang it, I didn't have a hard one on there. All right, so let me make up a hard one. Let's cross this off. Let's say I gave you something like this. 5 over x squared minus 2 plus 1 over, sorry, that's not what I wanted. 5 over x squared minus 4 plus 1 over x minus 2. What is my common denominator? What is my common denominator? X squared minus 4? No. X squared minus 4 is absolutely my common denominator. Because if I factored this thing, this would be 5 over, this factors to x minus 2, x plus 2. And there, over here, I have x minus 2, right? So what's my common denominator? X minus 2, x plus 2. So what am I missing here? I am missing an x plus a 2. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 2. Why am I multiplying by x plus 2 on top and bottom? Because that is, what is x plus 2 over x plus 2? What does that equal? 1. And I can multiply anything by 1. It doesn't change the problem. Okay, so now I have 5 over x minus 2, x plus 2, plus, and here I have x plus 2, right? So now the denominators are the same. I can add across, so I end up with x plus 7 over x minus 2, x plus 2. Now I could have written it this way also. I could have had x plus 7 over x squared minus 4. That's the same thing, right? That's the toughest type of problem that you're going to get. Okay, then there's something called complex fractions. This is a complex fraction. It sounds so hard, right? Doesn't it? Complex fraction. 1/2 divided by 3/4. This is a complex fraction. They're so simple to do, but most kids, they struggle with these. 1/2 divided by, so I always write it out. It's really read 1/2 divided by 3/4. Well, I know I can't divide fractions, so I'm just going to rewrite it as 1/2 times 4/3. My answer is 4/6 or 2/3, right? Now, let's say they gave me some crazy function. Let's say, no, that's not a crazy function. Nope, that's not a crazy function. Let's say they gave me something like this. X plus 2 over x plus 4 divided by, let's go x squared minus 16 over x squared minus 4. Okay? Oh man, that looks way too hard, Mr. Shanklin. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flip this. I'm going to go x plus 2 over x plus 4. And I know that I could write it as divide by x squared over, but I know that this is just going to flip. So this is just going to be x squared minus 4 up here, x squared minus 16 here. So I just know that because I've done these problems so many times that I know it just flips this one over. So now, oh darn it, I did it wrong. I wanted this to be on the top. Shoot, because it's nothing's going to cross off now. Darn it. Okay, messed up, but that's okay. All right, so you get the idea. I mean, they look really tough, but they really aren't. I mean, all you're doing, it's just a division problem. I was putting it on my desk because I messed up on writing it out. All right, so let's go to today's Desmos presentation. Oops. I need to find the Desmos presentation for today. And then let's get these problems done, because I know a lot of you come to these sessions so you get all the answers to the practice problems, which is awesome, because that's why I would come. All right, so here is the Desmos presentation. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to do these problems. And again, somebody was kind enough last night to email me and say, Mr. Shanklin, you got like 5 problems wrong on your answer key. I emailed that student back and said, I'll probably try to do my practice problems before, but I never do. All right, so this is problem number 1 on the practice. It says, add, simplify your answer. Do I have the first thing I do when I look at a problem like this is I ask myself, do I have a common denominator? Okay, do we have a common denominator there? And if we do, because it's just an addition problem, we do have a common denominator. So I'm just going to add right across the top. So this is going to give me 3x plus 12 over x squared minus 16. Now, let's factor. I'm going to factor out a 3 here. So that gives me x plus 4. And I'm going to factor the bottom. X plus 4, x minus 4. Uh-oh, those factoring skills are going to come in handy. That crosses off. So my answer should just be 3 over x minus 4. Boom. Love it. But did you notice everything you have to be able to do? You have to be able to add polynomials because we're adding across the top. Then we have to be able to factor, and then we have to simplify. There's so much stuff that is put together in these types of problems. That's why, you know, when it's only one thing, students are really good at doing it. But man, there's so many different things we have to do here. First, we have to figure out, does it have a common denominator? And then we have to factor out. Okay. I did add right across the top. I did. I came up with 3x plus 12. However, the 3x plus 12 does factor down. And it said to add and then simplify your answer. So we do have to simplify. All right. Let's go to problem number 2. Number 2 is this one. It's not a common denominator. I'm going to let you guys work on this one by yourselves for a little bit because I want to take attendance right away so I don't forget to do that. 3x plus 12, where did I get that? Magically. All I did was I added. I just added across the top. The denominator is the same. So I just did 3x plus 8 plus 4. Well, 8 and 4 are common, so 3x plus 12. That's where I came up with the 3x plus 12 on top. All right, I'm going to turn off my mic. I'm going to let you guys work on number 2. It's an addition problem, but the denominator is not the same. All right. What did we get for an answer? I know somebody put down C already. Okay. So let's work this problem out. A. All right. What is my common denominator? Between 9y squared and 18y, what is the common denominator? And this is where I will tell you, most students will get it wrong because they can't come up with the common denominator. The common denominator is 18y squared. Why is that the lowest common denominator? Well, first you have to look at your numbers. Okay, I have 9 and 18. What is the lowest common denominator between 9 and 18? Well, it's 18, isn't it? Because you can't. 18 is the largest number, so is there anything I can multiply 9 by to get 18? Yes, 2. So 18 is the lowest common denominator between 9 and 18. Then I take my variables. I've got y squared and y. You always have to take the highest power because there's no way you can go backwards. So I have to have y squared. So you have to look at the number and you have to look at the variable. So this is my lowest common denominator. So I have 3y over 9y squared. What do I have to multiply top and bottom by to get 18y squared? I have to multiply top by 2, bottom by 2. So that gives me 6y over 18y squared. Okay, so now I've got the common denominator there. And then I take the second one. I have 3y over 18y. What do I have to multiply the top and bottom by to get 18y squared? Well, I got to multiply by y on top and bottom. So on top, I'm left with 3y squared. On bottom, I'm left with 18y squared. Do I have a common denominator now? And the answer is yes. So all I have to do is add across the top. So 6y plus 3y squared, I can't add that. I can't add a y to a y squared, so I have 3y squared plus 6y over 18y squared. Okay, now, let's take a look at the top. I've got 3y squared plus 6y on top. Can I factor this? Yes, I can pull out a 3y. If I pull out a 3y, I'm left with y plus 2. Now remember, the denominator was 18y squared. This can simplify to this. So I'm going to divide both by 3. I'm going to take a 3 out. So I'm take a 3 out of here. If I take a 3 out of here, I get 6. If I take one y out, that leaves me with one y on the bottom. So my answer, y plus 2 over 6y. Now you want to talk about a lot of stuff put together. Finding a common denominator, adding polynomials, factoring the polynomial, simplifying it down. There are so many now, when I started today, I said it was tough. There's no question about it. I love this stuff because I'm really good at fractions. I can see it. I'm good at factoring. It makes it easier. That is where, and I can see this stuff. I've been doing it for a long time. I can see what has to be done there. Okay, but I will tell you, students will struggle with the addition and subtraction of the fractions. The multiplying, the dividing, when you're adding and subtracting with the common denominator, most students don't struggle with that. Most students struggle with common denominators. And let me tell you, I used to teach middle school, and middle school students struggled with adding fractions without common denominators. And it follows you through. It's like, okay, if you could do it back then, you're going to struggle now. I guarantee you, it's one of those things. It's one of those things that I've been doing this for a long time. I know where students are going to struggle. You're not going to struggle with the multiplying and dividing. That's not going to be any question, no problem. It's the adding, subtracting with the denominators, not the same. Okay. Yeah, definitely bombard me. So let's go to number 3 and see if there's another problem. Okay, number 3. Is there a common denominator? Yeah, holy cow, it's a crazy denominator, isn't it? But it is a common denominator. Whew. So now, but I will tell you, a lot of students will get this problem wrong. And can somebody tell me why that a lot of students will get this problem wrong? The minus sign, right? That minus sign is going to mess with some kids because that minus sign goes to everything behind it. What do I mean by that? Okay, this is what I mean. I would rewrite, now I know the denominator is going to be 5x to the third plus 8x squared plus 3x. I know that because it's a common denominator. However, the top is going to be x squared plus x plus 6. I'm going to change this to an addition and change all the signs behind it. So this is going to be plus 4x squared minus 6 or plus negative 6. That minus sign went to the 4x squared and it went to the 6. So now if I simplify this down on top, I end up with 5x squared plus x, and then the 6's just cross off. So that is what I'm left with. Is there an answer like that over to the left-hand side? Letter A. Okay. So be careful. Now I did not try to factor that one. I'm not 100%. I'm just going to jump into the practice this week and just check to see if it doesn't factor down. Because I mean, if it factors down, then they're tricking us with answer A. which they could do. I mean, I don't know if it factors. Let me just check and see if answer A was the correct answer there. And if it's not, then that means it factors. Okay, so this was number 3, right? A is the correct answer. Okay, so I'm not going to waste time trying to factor it out if that's our answer. Okay, so that was pretty easy because the denominator is the same, right? It's when that denominator is not the same. That's when kids have problems. I know that. All right. This is a subtraction problem again. Okay. Is the denominator the same? No, we don't have to find holes. Oh, undefined. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about this one. Okay. So the denominator is the same, right? So that means I can just add or subtract the problem. It's a subtraction problem, so it's going to cause some problems. I'm going to change that subtraction. I'm going to change it to addition and make the signs directly behind opposite. So that becomes negative. That becomes negative. So if I add across the top, I'm left with negative 4x squared plus x minus 4 over x minus 1. Okay? Now, when is it not defined? Okay, when is this problem not defined? And it's exactly the same thing as we did last week when we were talking about where's the hole. It is whatever makes the denominator equal to 0 because you can't divide by 0. Oh, it's x plus 1. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be x plus 1. Okay. So the denominator can't be 0. So what makes the denominator equal to 0? Negative 1. If I put negative 1 in here, negative 1 plus 1 is 0. That makes the denominator equal to 0. That makes it undefined. So that means it's going to be undefined at x equals negative 1. Okay? So in this problem, the expression is always defined. Nope. The expression is always defined. Nope. The expression is undefined at x equals negative 1. Okay. So is that what we had? Negative 4x squared plus x minus 4 over x plus 1. That looks like the answer we came up with. Okay. Yes, it wasn't A this time. Okay, so does that make sense in that problem? Remember, if the denominator is the same, all we're doing is we're just adding or subtracting across the top. That's easy. All right. Any questions? Right, the negative does not apply to the denominator. It only applies to the numerator. That is absolutely correct. All right, let's try number 5. Okay, number 5. Oh no, Mr. Shanklin. There's not a common denominator here. Okay, so what is the common denominator? What is the common denominator? This is where factoring comes in handy. Okay, so in this problem, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write it out, 1 over x minus 1 minus, and then this I'm going to factor. It factors to, and I bet you it's going to factor x minus 1, to tell you the truth, because I just know how these problems are done. So it looks like x plus 6, x minus 1, doesn't it? Okay. What is my common denominator? What is the common denominator for this problem? X minus 1, x plus 6. That is absolutely correct. Yep. So the second fraction, I don't have to touch. It already has my common denominator. But this one, I'm missing x plus 6, aren't I? So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 6. So I'm going to write this over again. So 1 times x plus, so on top I have x plus 6. On bottom I have x minus 1, x plus 6. minus, and then over here I have 7, and I didn't have to change this one. This one was the same. I had the common denominator ready. So now all I have to do is add. Now I have a common denominator. I just have to add across the top. So this is going to be x minus 1 over x minus 1, x plus 6. Oh my goodness. Look at that. What happens if everything crosses off on top and bottom? Or, I'm sorry. What happens if everything crosses off on top? What do we have to put there? You have to put a 1, right? So I'm left with 1 over x plus 6. Letter C is correct. Love these problems. Some of you are going to struggle. There's no question. All right. Number 6. All multiplication. The rule for multiplication, okay? The rule for multiplication is factor everything, and most things are going to cross off. So who's going to struggle with multiplication? Those of you that don't know how to factor. That's going to cause some problems because there is a lot of factoring up there. Okay? A lot. Allison, me. There's a lot of factoring up here, right? I'm looking at this problem. First thing I look at as I look at each of these separately. So this one here, I'm going to factor out a 6. So that leaves me with x minus 3. Down here, that's the difference of 2 squares. That's x minus 2, x plus 2. Okay? You really can't read my 2's there. Down here, this is a difference of 2 squares, x minus 3, x plus 3. And up here, 6, so 3 and 2, x plus 3, x plus 2. So now I have everything factored. Boom, great. Next step, cross everything off. That's the same on top and bottom, right? So I've got an x minus 3 here, x minus 3 here. I have an x plus 3 here, I have an x plus 3 here. X plus 2, x plus 2. What's left on top? Just 6. What's left on bottom? X minus 2. Done. So there wasn't much to do on multiplying, was there? Because everything just crosses off. Yeah. So, but factoring is such a big part of this week when you're doing multiplication and division. It's just, can you factor? All right. Number 7. Number 7. Oh, Mr. Shanklin, stop throwing all this. This is a division sign here, guys. It's not a plus sign, it's a division sign. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is, since it's division, I'm going to rewrite it as a multiplication problem. Okay? So I've got x squared plus 3x minus 10 over x squared minus 2x minus 15 times, and I'm going to flip this. So this goes on top, x squared plus 6x plus 9. And on the bottom, I've got x squared plus x minus 6. Okay. So now, I bet you that every one of these things factors. Okay. So this factors down to x plus 5, x minus 2. This factors to x minus 5, x plus 3. This factors to x plus 3, x plus 3. This factors to x plus 3, x minus 2. Whew. Pretty awesome factoring skills. Thank you. Then I'm going to start crossing things off. I've got an x plus 3 and x plus 3. Crosses off. I've got an x plus 3, x plus 3. Crosses off. X minus 2, x minus 2. All I have left is x plus 5 on top, x minus 5 on bottom. That's it. But those factoring skills come in handy. If you don't know how to factor, it's It'd take you a little bit longer to do these types of problems, isn't it? Especially when the problem is a free response question on the assessment where there's no multiple choice. You can't just look at the multiple choice answers. I'm not 100% sure if you have to use the cheater method or not. Just don't stare at them too long. All right. Number 8. Oops, I'm going to go to number 8. Okay, number 8. Oh boy, this one's really tiny. I think that's a division sign. So let me rewrite it for you guys. Y squared minus 16 over 3y minus 12 divided by y plus 4 over y plus 1. Okay, so what's my first step? Flip it, right. We're going to rewrite it as a multiplication problem first. Once we rewrite it as a multiplication problem, then I'm going to simplify everything that I can, okay? Well, I'm going to rewrite this right away. So I've got y plus 4, y minus 4, y plus 4. On the bottom here, I'm just going to factor out a 3. So that's y minus 4 times, and then I'm going to flip this. So that gives me a y plus 1 here and a y plus 4 down on the bottom. So I factored, I flipped, so now I cross off y plus 4, y plus 4, y minus 4, y minus 4. So I'm left with y plus 1 over 3. And that is letter C. Okay, I've been doing a lot of these problems. I'm going to let you guys do the next one. Okay. This is, oops, I'm not sure what problem this is. So this, oh boy. Okay, not 100% sure what problem that is. Okay. You guys know what problem this is? That was 8. The last one was 8, so this one's 9. Okay. So this is number 9. It looks like a division problem again. This looks like division here. So I'm going to let you guys do the work. Does anybody want to do it on the board? Factored all? Okay, Samantha, you're up. You know how to write on the board? All right, you are up. Now, yeah, since I'm sharing my screen, let me take off my sharing, okay, which is not a big deal. So let's go back to here. Oh, I can't do it. Can't do it because I don't have the problems in my normal thing. It's just on Desmos. So that was I shouldn't have asked somebody to do it. Sorry about that. It can't be done because I'm sharing a different screen which you guys cannot access. So I apologize. It just can't. I don't know of any way of doing it that way. Now I can't get back to where I wanted to share my screen here. Huh. Let's cancel that. All right, I'm struggling here. So share applications. Okay. All right. So you should be able to see again. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah. You can let her share her screen. I still don't think you can do that because I am sharing another screen. So I'm really not even in the same program that you guys are on. I'm in a whole nother tab. So I don't think you can, to tell you the truth, because if I was in Blackboard, I think I could, but I'm not in Blackboard right now. I'm in a whole different tab. I'm in the Desmos tab. Okay. So I apologize. Not tech savvy enough. Okay, I can do that. I can give you a blank screen. Okay, so that I can do. Okay, so you should have a blank screen now. I just don't remember what the problem was. Okay, so Samantha, x squared plus 6x plus 8. So x squared, let me write it down for you. X squared plus 6x plus 8 over, and this was a division problem, over x plus 4 divided by, and then we have x squared minus 4 over, and 4x minus 8. Okay, 4x minus 8. All right, so now you should be able to have a pen, so you should be able to do the work there. Oh, you want to do the next one now? Okay. Oh, all right. I'm gonna shut up and you guys you can work on it. Okay. First step, awesome. Flipped it over. That's exactly where you want to start. Is you want to rewrite it and just rewrite it as a multiplication problem. Very nice first step. Yep. Next, she is factoring every term up there. So the x squared minus 4 factors the x plus 2x minus 2. Yep. So you can factor the x squared plus 6x plus 8 and the 4x minus 8. Yep. The only thing that doesn't really factor in this problem is the x plus 4. Everything else should. Looks good. What about the x squared plus 6x plus 8? What is that factor to? Looks like somebody's factoring skills are as good as Mr. Shanklin's. Love it. Okay, now cross off whatever is the same. How come you can, do you have a tablet that you're writing with? Because you're writing better than I do. You're using a mouse? That is not even funny. We've done this before. See, I'm really old. I don't remember any of this stuff. So 4 over 1 or just 4? All right. So let me take this to a whole nother level. All right. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you guys to look at this function right here. Okay. Look at this function. I'm going to say that this function is f of x is equal to this. So this is the function I'm going to give you. All right. I want you to find out what f of 10 is equal to. So I want you to plug 10 in to this function. What is it equal to? And then after you do that, I want you to plug f of 100 in. I want you to figure out what that is equal to. I want you to plug in f of 1000. I want you to tell me what that is equal to. And some of you are saying, are you crazy, Mr. Shanklin? That's going to take me all day to plug those numbers in. Yeah, it should always be 4. This whole thing simplifies down to 4. There's no variable in this anymore. The answer is always 4. This is going to equal 4. This is going to equal 4. This is going to equal 4. It's always going to be 4. That's why we simplify. So when you have a function that looks like this, wouldn't you much rather have this function to plug numbers into? It always simplifies down to 4. I don't care. You can put 10 in here. This would give you 100 plus 60 plus 8. This would give you 14, and then you plug it in here. I guarantee you it will be 4 when you finish up. because that's what it simplified down to. Isn't that cool? That's why we simplify in math, so we can have a function that's easier to use. Yeah, that is absolutely right. If you graph this out, it's going to be a horizontal line. So if I asked you to graph this thing out, guess what it would look like? Horizontal line of 4. Now there'd be a couple holes in it. -4, there'd be a hole. Right? We did that last week. All right. We have one more problem off our, let me go back to sharing application screen here. I think we only have one more practice problem to go. All right. So this should be number 10. Uh-oh. An addition problem. Okay. So we're on, what is my common denominator? Can somebody tell me what the common denominator is in this problem? Hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing. Uh-oh, you can't. I messed, oh no, wait. Yes, you can. Okay, so what's my common denominator? X squared minus 1. That is nope, that is not right. This one's tough. This one had me a little flustered last night when I was working through it. Okay, and I'll work through this really slow for you guys, but you're really, really close to x minus 1. However, if you factored x squared minus 1, that factors to x minus 1, x plus 1, doesn't it? Is 1 minus x the same as one of these? And the answer is no, it's not. This would be written out as negative x plus 1. That's not the same thing as this. So I'm going to factor out a 1 here. If I factor out a 1, I end up with x minus 1. That is a cool step. Because now my common denominator is going to be negative 1, x minus 1, x plus 1. That's my common denominator. Okay, so that was a little bit tricky there, because can you see that negative 1 minus x is not the same thing as x minus 1? But if I factor out a 1, it is. So this is my common denominator. So I have, this is my problem, and I'm going to rewrite the 1 minus x as negative 1 x minus 1, because I factored out a negative 1 there, plus, and then here I have x plus 1, x minus 1. So my common denominator is negative 1, x minus 1, x plus 1. So this one, I'm missing a negative 1. So I have to multiply by negative 1 on top and bottom. This one, I'm missing an x plus 1. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 1. So now I have a common denominator. Awesome. So if I add this together, I've got a negative x here and a positive x here. So I'm left with a 1 on top, and then a negative 1, x plus 1, x minus 1. Can I move this negative 1 up to the top? Yes, I can. So I'm left with, or same thing. So that one, that negative 1 kind of messed things up a little bit. I would not put something like that on an assessment, because that would make it a little bit difficult. Yeah, Olivia, I think that was before somebody emailed me and said, is it still being marked wrong? I thought I changed it last night. Let me, oh, no, wait, number 10. Oh, darn it. Sorry about that. It should be B. Okay. It should be correct now. Yep. My answer key is wrong a lot. Trust me, somebody, I think it's Olivia, every week emails me on Sunday evening and says, you know, I have all these problems wrong, but I know they're right. So I have to go back in and check my answers. Yeah. All right. That is it for this week. The assessment is adding, subtracting, rational functions, multiplying and dividing them. That's it. Next week, it's a tough one. Next week, we're going to be solving rational functions. But if you're good at factoring, you won't have any problems with it. It's the people that are not good at factoring who will have a tough time. All right. You guys have a great week. We'll hopefully see you on Wednesday. Bye.